Hello, and welcome to our mini webinar on unlocking staff profiles. I'm Amy Cook, the Community Manager at Hi Rasmus, and we are so glad to have all of you with us today. Our Director of Curriculum and Training, Dr. Erin Morin, will be showcasing staff profiles along with our new staff training and competency programs. Before I hand it over to Dr. Morin, I'd like to go over a few quick items. So here is our agenda for today. We'll start by previewing our upcoming webinar on AI and sharing some links to help you stay connected. Then Erin's going to guide us through the staff profiles, and we will wrap up by answering questions at the end. Okay, you can register now to join us for Say Hi to AI, launching smarter, faster session notes. We will have our featured guest speaker, Dr. Ellie Kazemi, with us. And then our founder and CEO, Nikolai, will be sharing off our new feature. And our Chief Commercial Officer, Rachel, will also be with us for that. And we'll go ahead and put the registration link in the chat. Okay, let's connect. You can follow us on social media to stay up to date on our latest features, webinars, and podcast, and so much more. We have our Facebook page. We also have a private Hi Rasmus Professionals Facebook page. That's our community page where you can connect and collaborate with other users. We are on LinkedIn, and we also have a YouTube channel with lots of recorded webinars and great resources. And our podcast, the video version, is also on that same YouTube channel. You just click over to podcast and you can check that out. And then our podcast, you can also listen on Apple and Spotify. So if anyone didn't catch any of those, just feel free to let me know in the chat and I can get those to you as well. So I'm going to now stop my screen share and I'm going to hand it over to Erin to show off our staff profiles, which you all are here for today.
Thank you, Amy. I'm very excited to be here today. We have been working very hard behind the scenes to bring you these great feature updates, and I am just so excited to share. So I'm going to get my screen up and running. And here we go. So I think we can all agree that happy clients start with happy, well-trained staff. Our motto, our mission is to help you focus on the child in front of you and really provide a high level of care. But we're really taking a step back and thinking about who is that person providing that care in front of that child. We want that person to be as confident and as competent and well-trained as possible. And so we really hope that we can provide some tools to make it easier to access training and to deliver that training to the staff. I know from my personal experience, I did a lot of research looking into behavioral skills training and different structured training models. And even after conducting all of that research in my own personal practice, I had a really difficult time implementing those processes consistently and strategically. And a lot of that was because it wasn't integrated into the technology I was using. So I had a data collection platform, but I didn't have my staff component as a part of that platform. So I was relying on spreadsheets and binders and paper data, and it made it really difficult to keep track of who have I checked for what competencies, who have I done what with, when am I supposed to do that with this staff? And it was really difficult to manage that on top of all of the other responsibilities that practicing behavior analysts have. When I moved into management, it became even more difficult to try to say, okay, I want all of my BCBAs to implement these training procedures for our new technicians, for example. If I had a hard time doing it myself, it's even harder to try to have accountability and consistency among a team of staff to also implement it to a very high standard. So what we have done is come up with a whole host of tools to help support you in training your staff. So today, what we are going to review is our new catalog that you may have seen this morning, released today in the program library. We're going to review how you can add some of those existing programs or create your own programs for a staff member. And then we'll view a sample of how you might put together a training plan for a technician onboarding. So a 30, 60, 90-day training plan, how you could concurrently run a training session while also supervising a client session. And then finally, we'll review how to view the staff data and integrate it into a report. So everything that I'm going to show you today is available. It's active, it's ready to go if you have a staff profile. So the staff profiles can be purchased and assigned to your different staff members. And once you have that set up and running, you can use everything that we're going to go over today. So with that said, I'm going to switch my tabs over and we are going to jump in. Okay. Sharing my screen once again. Here we go. So I am now into the platform and we can see here that we have our library here. And now up at the top, we have this new catalog button. So I encourage you to spend some time today doing some online shopping in our catalog. Again, everything that's on here that's related to staff is available if you have those staff profiles. Now, some things in this catalog should look familiar if you are an existing Hi Rasmus user, the RBT training, SBT, balance. You can now access these either in the featured programs or you can access them here in the library. But what you're also going to see are a whole new set of packages really focused on that staff component. So we'll take some time now to review those different packages that are available. We have the ABA Procedures and Evidence-Based Practice Fidelity Checklist. This is one of the biggest packages, the one that we're going to review today. And within this package, we have over 30 programs that are pre-made that really focus on those foundational ABA skills. So looking at things like reinforcement, behavior reduction, those evidence-based practices that are used every day. We have over 30 programs with over 200 targets included in those programs. So you're able to view this in the catalog, and then you can simply click this Add to Library button, and it will get sent to your organization's library. I've already added to the library, so I'm not going to add it again. If I go back to our catalog now, some additional packages that we have are the performance goals and professionalism. So this package really has some sample programs that you might want to utilize if you're wanting to track different KPIs or performance, not necessarily clinical skills, but looking at more of those professional skills that you might be wanting to track for your staff. We also have a package here for toilet training, so fidelity checklists for implementing toilet training, but also training caregivers and training others to implement toilet training, because that's oftentimes what goes along with toilet training. It's not just you, it's making sure that other people can implement that training procedure. We also have a really nice set of self-assessments. So anytime you hire on a new staff, everyone comes in with a different set of experiences. So we've created these self-assessments to help you gauge your staff's previous experience and abilities. So we have self-assessments that are created for behavior technicians as well as behavior analysts that review, anything from, what settings have you worked in, what age groups have you worked in, what assessment tools are you familiar with, etc. So you might want to take a look at that package if you're responsible for onboarding new staff and creating their training programs. We also have the Inventory of Good Teacher Repertoire from Steve Ward that complements the Inventory of Good Learner Repertoires, if you are familiar with that assessment and curriculum. This provides some really nice supplemental teaching strategies and considerations that you might not normally include in a training package. We also have fidelity checklists for implementing the picture exchange communication system. And of course, we recently released the preschool life skills curriculum. You may have already seen this in the featured programs that we have staff fidelity checklists for those preschool life skill programs. We have an additional package here for behavior analyst foundational skills. So these are the skills identified in this program, and we'll take a look at this in our library in a few minutes, but these are really looking at what are the main skills that a BCBA needs to practice? They need to be able to conduct assessments, to write treatment plans, to provide effective supervision sessions, and to run effective parent training sessions. So we have a set here of skills or fidelity checklists to help support the training of new behavior analysts or perhaps behavior analysts in training your graduate students. And those are the packages that are all now available to you in addition to the existing packages that we already have. So I'm going to hop back now to our library. Like I said, I already added them in. So I can see here, this is that first package that we looked at, the ABA Procedures and Evidence-Based Practice Fidelity Checklist. All of these skills have been grouped Our first group that we'll take a look at here are behavior reduction programs. So these are very common introductory behavior reduction skills that we might want to learn. ABC data collection here is one we're going to take a peek at. So for each program that has been created, in the instructions tab, I've provided a brief description and a summary of what that procedure is. This would be for staff reference, a new RBT that wants a little bit more information. We know that the 40-hour RBT training can be a lot for someone to take in. So we've provided a little summary here and an example of an ABC form filled out here. And then in the targets, we have our fidelity checklists. So each step is a target. The fidelity checklist on a whole, I would say we've kept them a little bit shorter on purpose. We don't want to overwhelm with too many targets. So what we do encourage you to do is to view these targets and customize them to your setting. So if you have a particular way that you want a specific strategy run, you could come in and you could modify that. Or as you start with one of your staff members, if you're training them and you're seeing that they're having a difficult time, you might want to add more steps or add more details to it. So if you have someone, for example, who has a difficult time with pacing or getting the learner's attention before delivering an instruction, you might add those really specific targets into these. But we do feel like it's a really nice starting point for your organization. Hopefully we've done a lot of legwork for you by coming up with these fidelity checklists. So I'm going to go back here. What you can see I've done here is I've tagged everything in our library already as staff competency. So any programs that you pull from our catalog are going to be tagged with staff competency. But you may decide to use these tags to create your own training plans. So what I have come up with here is a sample of an RBT 30, 60, and 90-day training plan. So all of the skills that I want my staff, my new technician to learn within their first 30 days of employment, I have tagged as RBT 30 day. And anything that I have tagged here are my 60 days, those are my next set of skills. And then the 90 days would be my subsequent set of skills. Once I have tagged these in the library, you only have to go through that process once. Now I have it here in my library. I can select those skills, and then this bar is hiding it here at the bottom. Let me see if I can move this. You can say copy to staff member and send those to that staff member's library. So to create those training plans, again, you can come from our pre-made ones. You can also add a library, add a program. We now have in the drop down here, you can see you can add a new client program, but if you continue to scroll, you can also add a new staff program. So this is a new function just to be able to really separate out the staff and the client. If I'm in my staff members programs and I go to add a program, I'm only going to be able to add a staff program. If I were to be in a client profile, I could go in and I'll only be provided the options to add a client program. But once you're in that library, you could add both at the same time. So I have already added those 30, 60, 90-day programs to this staff members program library. As you can see here, this is how it might look. I can order them by their tag. So I have ABC data collection, etc. for 30, 60, 90. I also have tagged punctuality and professionalism in all of my 30-day sessions. So the reason for that being is that perhaps those first 90 days are the staff member's probationary period. I want to know during that time, are they consistent with their attendance, their punctuality, and those key professionalism metrics that we want to look at? So I'm going to tag those for all of these. So now once I have all of those tagged, ready to go, I've got my curriculum set. What I can do is create a session for that staff member. So if I go to Sarah's home, I can see here, I have my first 30-day training session, and then you could create a training session for those 60-day skills and those 90-day skills. And now you have two different options for running these sessions. Let's say I have Sarah, she's not working with a client yet. This is just an initial training session or perhaps a booster session. I could go in and I could start a standalone training session with Sarah and collect data on those skills in a standalone training. However, if Sarah is actively providing services to a learner, I can first go to the learner's profile, and I can see here Sarah is running his daily session, so I can supervise. Okay. All right, here we go. Thank you so much, Rachel. Okay, so now I'm supervising the staff. So Sarah, my staff member, is providing active session to this learner because she has a staff profile and because I already have set up that session, that 30-day training session, while I'm in supervised mode, I can click this button here and I can add Sarah. From this drop down, I can select this 30-day training session and I can add. So now as I am supervising Rory's session, I can also toggle over here to Sarah, and I can see all of these skills that I have added to that 30-day training program, and I can collect data on Sarah's performance as she is implementing these discrete trials, or if an opportunity appears for ABC data collection, I can collect data for those skills as well. And again, that punctuality and professionalism. So that might be something you're going to track every time you supervise her. So I can say, today she did arrive on time. She was in the correct dress code and she had everything ready to go. Sarah's doing great today. So that is how you can concurrently run those sessions. I'm going to return home. And I'm going to switch back over to Sarah and look at some of her progress. Okay, so these are those skills from the 30, 60, or 90 day. I'm going to look at her ABC data collection. So this is really going to give me insights into how Sarah is doing. How is she gaining these skills? How is she performing on them? So I can see that we're doing pretty good with implementing ABC data collection. As a whole, we've improved. We had a little bit of a struggle, but we did a great job today with that skill. You do have the ability, as you would just looking at the client graphs, to look in at specific targets. And I can see how is she doing with defining the target. Oh, that has not given her any problems. She's been doing great there. But you might see here, okay, this is maybe where she was struggling with, was looking at that consequence. So these you still have all of the same abilities that you had before with the client data. You can now look to analyze your staff's performance. You can take these graphs and integrate them into reports, just like you would with a client. So I'm going to hop over to Sarah, her progress. I'm going to look at her reports. And you can see here I've created a template for a 30, 60, 90-day technician onboarding. So in this report here, I have included some activities that are part of my staff's onboarding. So I want to make sure that they've completed their 40-hour training. I'll put in the date that they did that. They need to shadow their 4 sessions, etc. And then here we can include all of those 30-day competency skills. So actually in their report, we can pull in their data. And I think that this is so powerful because now we'll be able to, when you have those meetings with the staff, be able to review this together and say, look at how you've been doing with these skills. Look at the progress you've made. How incredible that you've gained all these skills in such a short amount of time. We're so lucky to have you. If they're having a hard time, those difficult conversations with staff who struggle can be really difficult to manage. And so now you'll actually have some data that you can review together to help support those difficult conversations and say, look at these skills we've been having a difficult time with. Are there some barriers? And you could hopefully use that as a jumping point for digging into the reasons why that staff might not be successful at that time. These reports can then be exported and saved into that staff member's files permanently. And I think that that is another wonderful tool that we can not have to go to different drives or everything will be here on the platform that you can review, that the staff has access to as well. So this is one sample of a 30, 60, 90-day onboarding, but I do have a few other samples of training plans that you could use these features for. So I know that many of you guys are PFA SBT implementers. So here I've created a training plan for PFA SBT. So if I were myself to train someone in PFA SBT, I'm going to want to know what types of clients have they run a PFA with, so I can feel confident that they might have the skill set and experience to go implement a PFA with a new learner if they have a similar learning profile. So in this plan, what I came up with was a PFA kind of a summary report. So you can put in here some information regarding that learner, the date, perhaps some notes, and then including that graph if they used that. You can also then create targets for them for their PFA fidelity. And you can have that included here in the plan. Same for SBT. If you want them to complete some trainings from FTF, or you want to review their workbooks, or put them through some formal credentialing with FTF, you could create a summary and have that as a permanent product here. And then again, running some fidelity sessions with them for SBT, including their graphs in this report as a nice way of seeing, how is my staff doing with this? Can I feel comfortable assigning them a new SBT case? Another way you might use this is for performance reviews. So here I have a sample performance review using the same platform. So here I've got the staff's name. I have filled in their job description. And then I've created a chart here, a table with their KPIs. And I can go and I can view their data that I've been collecting through those sessions. And I can create a quick summary to explain to them where you're exceeding expectations, where you've met expectations, and then those areas that you might need improvement. And then again, we know that those conversations can be difficult to have, so it can be really valuable to review the data together and say, hey, we've been struggling with our utilization and our billing requirement. Um, you've been doing great with your session notes or your other skills, but being able to view that data together to try to pinpoint, what's going wrong and what could we do to improve, could be very nice to have. And again, this is something that could be exported, put into their files, and saved for viewing later on. And that would live here. So those are the new features that we have for you today. We have been working really hard on them, and I hope that you find them useful, and that you will have a fun time browsing the new catalog that we have and seeing what programs are available.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Erin, for sharing that with us. So, for those of you that are watching us live, please hang on. We are going to be answering questions. But those of you that are watching this on demand, we are going to be stopping the recording. So, those of you that are watching, please feel free to email help@hirasmus.com if you need support from our customer success team. We'd love to help you. And everyone, thank you for listening and growing with us today.